And our first guest is a prolific children's author. She has a bunch of books, um, some with the Dr. Seuss connection, a Disney connection. She's got all kinds of stuff. And one book that I of hers that I've seen in the on the shelves of the stores, I didn't realize who it was. Is she has a book about Simone Biles, the gymnast, and it's called Flying High. So, but she has a bunch of books, and we should have had her on the show before. It didn't happen that way because she has so much writing that she's done. So, Michelle Meadows, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Gwen.
Hi. Now, where are you joining us from?
Coastal Delaware.
Oh, you're in Delaware. Okay. Well, are
Yeah.
you near the water? Are you near the beach?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've only been to Delaware once, um, to Dover Air Force Base years and years
Okay.
and years and years and years ago. One of my best friends was in the Air Force, and I went to visit her on the weekend. So, but other than that, I've never set foot in the state other than that one time. So, it's a small state with a small, like probably
Yeah.
close knit because the population's so small.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that where you're from?
I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay. Well, Rhonda's in the DMV, and that's where she lives in Maryland. But and I actually went to Georgetown, so I
Okay.
was in DC for those 4 years, and then 2 years after graduation. So I spent some time in Washington. Um,
Okay.
it's a lot different now than it was when I was there. So how did you get started with your children's book writing, and then that's part A, and part B.
Okay.
How did you get so prolific with so many books? So
Okay.
many
So,
books. So
yeah.
let's
So, how
start.
I got started. Okay. So, I've always been a writer. I've loved writing since I was a little girl. So, growing up in elementary school and in high school, I was in the poetry club and writing for the school paper. And then when I went to college, I went to Syracuse University in New York and I did a dual major in journalism and literature. So that's what I mean when I say I was a writer, like lifelong writer.
Mhm.
And then when my husband and I had a son, and he was born in 96. So when my husband and I had a son, and I was reading to him all the time, taking him to the library, just like my mom had done for me and remembered how much I loved children's books and loved poetry. And that's when I really set my mind on that goal of writing children's books. And then the prolific question is, I think, my earliest children's books, many of them were inspired by my son. So, I feel like ideas are everywhere. And usually it's something that I feel very strongly about, something that I see or something that I experience that I really feel deeply, or even just something that I admire or think is cute. Anything can set me off.
Okay.
So I'm just one of those people that's like always trying to think of new things and always writing, like always writing. So,
Do you only have one child?
yes.
Okay. So do I. And my daughter was born in 96.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in fact she'll next month she'll be 30.
Okay. Yeah. So
Mhm.
see, mine's right behind you, behind yours.
Oh, okay. Uh so you have these different titles with different, I guess, imprints or publishers or
Yes.
themes, or how did you maneuver all of that?
Okay. Yeah. So, what happened was with my very first book. So my very first book is called The Way the Storm Stops. And that book, I wrote it in 1999 and it came out in 2003. So that is a book that I sold on my own. And I sent it out through what they call the slush pile, which means you're sending it to editors at different publishing houses, and you're not agented. You're sending it out and then hoping that an editor will pick it up, right? So I sent it out to several publishers. My first book, I wrote that book because we had a really bad thunderstorm going on, and our house was rocking and shaking. And I wondered what our son, now at the time he was about 2.5, and I wondered what must he be thinking with all of this booming and shaking, right? So I went and I picked him up. I found him in his bedroom, kind of curled up and peeking out from under the blanket. And I scooped him up, brought him back to the rocking chair in our bedroom, and I rocked him and I sang to him. And pretty soon after that, he fell asleep. And I thought, this is the way the storm stops for a small child. Now, the storm was still going on, so I could hear all the sounds. And so I grabbed a notebook from my notstand and I wrote. And that resulted in my first book, The Way the Storm Stops, which I sent out to several publishers. And a couple of months after that, I got a phone call from an editor at Henry Holt named Christy Ottaviano. This was back in the days when we had like answering machines, good old fashioned answering machines. And, she left me this message saying, I got your manuscript. I love it. Please call me back. And so that is how my first book got published. And then I spent many years after that trying to um, write more books. I just kept writing and writing and got tons of rejection letters and just kept writing and writing. And I got a literary agent. So I got a literary agent, Rosemary Stamola, with the Stamola Literary Student Studio. And so she sold my second book and all my other books. So
Oh,
now I have
wow.
22 books published. And so once I got my agent, I think she was definitely helpful in putting my work in front of publishers.
Oh, wow. So, now you just write the story. You don't
Yes,
do the illustrations. They hire
correct.
they hire an illustrator for that. But
Yes,
the
yes.
storytelling apparently was strong enough. And I like that we just had a storm Sunday, and
Oh,
some
did
of
you?
the loudest thunder. I mean, we were just keeping our fingers crossed that we didn't lose power. That's you
Yeah.
know. Um, but that's an interesting take on that. Um that's when the storm stops for a child, when they go to
Hmm.
um and pets are frightened by storms
Yeah,
because we have a cat and a dog.
yeah.
And
I've had people tell me that, like people have like teachers have let me know that, they've worked with students about that same fear and also about with pets. So that's
mhm.
interesting. Yes.
Yeah, our cat runs and hides under a bed when he hears the
Right.
thunder. Our dog just like cries. She whimpers and like
Yeah.
sounds really like a baby almost. Um, but yeah, that and also you realize just how powerless you are as a human when it comes to a thunderstorm or weather in general. You just keep your
Yeah.
fingers
Yeah.
crossed and hope. And we have hurricanes. It was really like almost like hurricane, like it kind of was like that. And we
Well, you're powerless, but at the same time, it's a beautiful thing that your child feels safe just because she's near you or he's near
Yeah.
you.
He's near. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all you have to do is just wrap your arms around your child. And
Yes.
even though
Yeah.
you're scared, your child feels safe. And to me, that has always been a beautiful thing. As long as they're
Yeah.
in your arms,
Yeah.
they feel like everything's going to be okay. And that's the
Yeah.
most beautiful feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really, what struck me that night. And then also, the feelings of the heart that I felt in that moment about what you
Yeah.
just described. Yeah. Yeah.
So, a book can come from just about any experience or anything.
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, and our children are inspirations for stories. Um, I'm a writer too, and so is Rhonda. So,
Hmm.
um, I a lot of my most successful book was inspired by my daughter, and it's not a children's book. It's about going to college debt free, but it was inspired by my desire for her to go to college debt free, and then um, I just took off from there.
Yeah.
I do it every year. So, um, yeah, our children really do inspire us to do things.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
it's something. So, the people you love more than yourself. Um,
Yeah.
Now,
tell us some of your. I know you have a Disney connection, and then you also have a
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss connection. So tell us a couple
Sure.
of those titles.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to say, what happened was just before I get to those points, I was going to tell you. So, when in 2015, when my husband and I and our son moved from the DC area to the Delaware Beach area. And so at that time, my son was getting ready to go off to college, and I was really starting to think about what I felt passionate about. And that is how I got into writing biographies, right? So I have three biographies. Um, One, Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, Flying High, the story of gymnastic champion Simone Biles, and also Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues, The Extraordinary Life of James Baldwin. But I mention those to say that writing those books really led me to the Disney opportunity.
Okay.
So, um, especially Brave Ballerina and Flying High. So there were some folks with Disney and Marvel because Moon Girl is a Marvel superhero. And so they reached out through Rosemary, through my literary agent, to ask if I would be interested in writing the novelization, which is basically the middle grade novel based on the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated TV show, which is a Disney show. And so they were really, I think what piqued their interest was that I have such a passion for strong Black women, and so that's kind of how the Disney project came to me. And so Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is for ages 8 to 12. And the TV show was actually thought up by Lawrence Fishburne. So Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur started in the comic book world. So they're comic books based on those characters. And then Lawrence Fishburne got the idea to create an animated TV show based on those characters. So it features Moon Girl as Lunella Lafayette, who's a 13-year-old Black girl living in the Lower East Side in New York City. And she's a scientist and engineer and does all kinds of projects. Her superpower is her brain. And she accidentally, through a time traveling portal, accidentally brings a dinosaur to New York City. But so Disney and Marvel created the
accidentally brings a
TV show.
dinosaur. I love that.
Yeah, accidentally in
So
her
it's not
underground lab.
a raptor or a T-Rex. So it's not, it doesn't terrorize New York.
Well, it kind of does, but it all works out. It all works out. The
Okay.
dinosaur is totally lovable.
Okay.
And so Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Marvel and Disney came up with the characters, came up with the story for Moon Girl, and then my role was to kind of translate that TV show, the experience of the show, into a book, into a book for children, especially focusing on the thoughts and feelings of Lunella Lafayette, who is Moon Girl. So that's how that came about. And then Seuss, the interesting thing about Seuss is that because I've written a lot, not all, but most of my books are rhyming books. And I've always been interested in poetry and stories in rhyme and that lyrical kind of musical quality of language. And so as I mentioned, I've been working with my literary agent for many years. And so I wrote this book, a picture book called How to Love a Pony. which is a rhyming picture book about a little girl named Lily who lives on a horse farm. And the book introduces kids to concepts about horses and like that kind of relationship between a child and a pony. And it was inspired by a horse, or I should say a pony that my grandfather brought from the side of the road when me and my cousins were young. And so he got this pony for all the cousins to enjoy. And I had forgotten it. And so just kind of thinking about memories, and that's another great way to come up with story ideas is that I often kind of keep track of really nice, positive memories from childhood. And I had remembered that our grandfather had this pony, and I checked with my cousin to see, is this memory correct? And she said yes. So I wrote How to Love a Pony in rhyme, and Rosemary sent it to the Seuss imprint of Random House. And so that's how I got my very first Dr. Seuss beginner book. And then from there, I wrote three more. So in addition to How to Love a Pony, after that, I wrote How to Love a Kitten, which is about the same little, the same girl, the same family with the farm, and how and that one was inspired by me when I was younger. Me and the guy who did our yard, he really found it, but found a cute little heap of kittens under our porch. So I had How to Love a Pony, How to Love a Kitten, and then I wrote two other Dr. Seuss books that are nonfiction rhyming books. And so one of those is the all about sea creatures, what humming fish wish, how you can help protect sea creatures, and then green machines and other amazing eco inventions. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, and you actually already answered it, but I'd love for you to expand on it. But as a children's author, how you were tapped to write memoirs or biographies, but it seems that the biographies that you were writing were really more geared toward a younger audience.
Yes. The earlier one.
So,
So I would say, now, Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, that's a book, that's an idea that I came up with because I was taking a ballet class. And what it was right after we moved to Delaware. And I started taking a ballet class. And while I was taking that class, I started researching Black ballet dancers,
mhm.
and then came across Janet Collins' story and really wanted to write a book about her. Okay, then that was illustrated by Ebony Glenn, and she does like really fantastic artwork. And so then that book came out in 2019. And then I thought of the idea of writing a picture book about Simone Biles. That was during the 2016 Olympics, is when I was thinking about it. When I was like mesmerized, like the rest of the world, looking at Simone Biles. And so I wrote Flying High, the story of Simone Biles. I hope it kind of in a similar style to Brave Ballerina, and hoping that Ebony Glenn would illustrate, and she did. So I have those two books were ideas that I came up with, right? These were things that were interesting to me. And then because I wrote Brave Ballerina and Flying High, an editor at HarperCollins, a wonderful editor named Luana Horry, approached me. Again, she came through my literary agent, through Rosemary, and she asked if I would be interested in writing the biography on James Baldwin. So Brave Ballerina and Flying High were definitely younger,
Okay.
completely rhyming book. And then when Luana talked with me about writing a picture book biography about the first, by the way, I should say, the first picture book biography on James Baldwin, and I immediately said yes, because I was, very interested in being able to research a writer's life like James Baldwin. But so James Baldwin is a little bit older. And Luana even said to me, because she said, I really liked Brave Ballerina and Flying High. And she said, but you can't do this book in rhyme. And I knew that the story of James Baldwin, in all of its complexities, an all rhyming story wouldn't work. Like I knew that. So, but I did sneak in a rhyme in the very beginning when I said, home is brick brown, Harlem uptown, trains rumbling by. So I snuck in a rhyme. But the Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues is a little bit older and definitely longer, very complex story. And my goal though was to still be poetic, like really make it very lyrical and poetic.
Well, you two things that you really brought to light. Well, more than two, but the two that stand out for me is one is the importance of ideas, chronicling your ideas for a book because just one little seed can
Yeah.
blossom into a whole series of books or
Hmm.
just one great book. And the importance of having a literary agent that's really in your corner. You've had the same one for a long time, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been
And
like
that says a lot about you and that agent that you've been able to establish that type of longevity, long relationship.
Yeah, I really do appreciate her. You know, Rosemary, she's a person who she used to be a children's book seller, and she became an agent and really, oh, she also taught children's literature. And so, what I like about having an agent is you do have that sounding board. You do have that person to, you know, you could talk with them about your next idea. You could talk with them about your goals. You know, you could talk with them about what they recommend for you based on your interests. But I like having someone, I feel I'm very pro agent because I feel like editors, as much as we love them, and editors are so talented, but they come and go. They come and go. I've had so many editors over the course of my career. So I always tell Rosemary, you're my constant. Like you are my constant. So I definitely appreciate the role of an agent and recommend it. Yeah.
now. Have you ever thought about writing an adult books?
You know, no, I haven't. You know, really, I feel that um children's books are a really good fit for me. I joke and say that I have like the brain of a 5-year-old, but um, one of the things that I really like about writing is looking at like complex material and breaking that down and making it accessible for young readers.
Okay,
So I really like to work on projects where kids are, you know, that help kids learn to read. Um, I really love children's poetry. And I like the idea just of being part of kind of early literacy, you know, like an advocate for early literacy. And so I guess Moon Girl, now I do have, so the few projects that are older. So we talked about Moon Girl, and that's 8 to 12. And then I also did a book with Misty Copeland called Black Ballerinas. So after I wrote Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, an editor from Simon and Schuster approached me and asked, would I be interested in, you know, providing some research and writing support for a project that Misty Copeland was working on called Black Ballerinas, My Journey to Our Legacy. And I mentioned that too because that is a book that adults love. Like it is a children's middle grade book. It
okay.
profiles 27 ballet dancers of color, and it was like so much fun to research all of these dancers' lives because when I wrote about Janet Collins, I came across so many other dancers, and I thought they all need a book. So like I was really excited to work on Misty's book, and to she tells like really wonderful personal stories about her relationships with the dancers and her experience with them. And I was able to research a lot of facts about how the dancers got into ballet, what kind of factors influenced them and that sort of thing. So, so that one kind of felt like adult life, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I do think I have a strong commitment to children's literature. That's where my
Well,
heart is.
yeah,
And,
well,
and if that's where
clearly,
your heart is, so stick with it, girl.
yeah,
Yeah,
clearly,
yeah,
as you're very prolific in that space, and you a lot of the things that you talk about are kind of ordinary things, but you turn it into a lyrical story for children, like How to
yes,
Love a Pony. Like now,
right.
when the pony was on the side of the road, it wasn't in Washington. So where were you? I wanted to ask you
No,
about that.
so right, so no, my grandfather, and this is my mom's parents, had a farm in North Carolina.
Okay, what part of
Yeah,
North Carolina?
a
Do you remember?
small town. Yeah, it was a small town called Woodland, North Carolina. Woodland, North Carolina.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
have
I've heard
North
of
Carolina
Woodland.
roots. That's why I was asking. But now I never heard of Woodland.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I have roots in small towns near Durham.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so because I was the Pony Brother, so I knew it wasn't in Washington. That's why I was.
Right.
So anyway, Michelle, tell our audience how they can connect with you on social media, or you have a website, and
Yeah.
also Rhonda will probably put some of this in the chat.
I already did. I
Okay, yeah, that's what
already
she does.
did.
And
Thank
so,
you. I was gonna say, yeah, my website's michellemeadows.com, and
Yes.
then
mhm.
I'm on Instagram and also YouTube with Michelle Meadows book.
Okay, well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for your next release. But congratulations on just your success in that children's lane.
Thank you.
And you've done so much writing. More people need to know about you, and a lot of people know about you, but even more people need to know about you.
I appreciate that.
So thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Have a good
Okay,
night.
Thank
bye
you. Have a
bye.
great night.